In this video, we're going to talk about decimal place value. So we have the number at the top, 3,582 and 679 thousandths. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to dissect this number, and in the columns I have down here, we have the digit, and I've got them just ordered from least to greatest. They're scrambled. And over here on the right side, we're going to name the place and the value to get the place value of each digit. So for the digit 2, all we need to do is we need to go locate that digit. And we always want to find where our decimal is. I want to make the decimal a little bigger. So we find our decimal. That's our point of reference. So anything to the left of the decimal is a whole number. Anything to the right of the decimal are our fractional pieces, our decimal places. So I see my decimal. I look right to the left, and there's my 2. That is the first place value spot of the whole numbers. So the first place value spot for whole numbers would be the ones place. And then the value would be, well, how many ones do I have? I have 2. 2 ones would be the same as just 2. Okay, so the next one would be the 3. So I go and I find my 3 first. I find my decimal. The 3 is going to be way over here on the left. I'm going to locate that. And then we're just going to count. So we got ones, tens, hundreds, and then what place would come next? Thousands. So that place is the thousands. And I have 3 thousands, so my value is 3,000. Okay, next we have the 5. So again, I find my decimal. I see the 5 is on the left of the decimal, so I locate the 5. So I got to count my whole number places. So it's ones, tens, hundreds. So that 5 is in the hundreds place. So if I have a 5 in the hundreds place, what is that 5's value? Yes, it would be 500. 500. Got a couple more digits to go. So next up, we would have our 6. So again, I locate my decimal. Now I see the 6 is on the right side, so I know it's not a whole number, it's one of my decimal places. So if you remember, we have tenths is our first decimal place. So you find your decimal, and then to the right is the tenths place. Not the tens with an S, but the tenths, like a fraction. So the 6 is in the tenths place. And that would mean its value is 6 tenths. And by itself, we would show that as 0 decimal 6. It would be 6 tenths. Okay. Now the 7. We see the 7 is right after the 6. We have our decimal. We go to the tenths place. And then we find our 7. What decimal place comes after the tenths? That would be the hundredths. And if that 7 is in the hundredths place, its value would be 7 hundredths. And we would show that by writing 0 decimal 0 in the tenths place, and then make sure that 7 is in the hundredths place. Couple more. So again, we now see that we need to find the 8. We find our decimal. We go over and we count ones and then what place comes after the ones? Because that's where our 8 is. It is the tens. And I have 8 tens. There's an 8 in the tens place. So what is the value of that 8? Be 80. And finally, we have the 9. So the 9 up here, it's our last digit, so I'll just box it in. I find my decimal. So I go to the right. That's the tenths. That's the hundredths. And what place would this 9 be located in? Yes, it is in the thousandths place. So thousandths, and we have 9 of them. So it would be 9 thousandths. So 0 decimal, 0 in the tenths, 0 in the hundredths, and a 9 in the thousandths. Okay, so that is our completed place value chart for the number 3,582 and 679 thousandths.